good, y'all? Dr. Trehunna. So have you ever noticed that you ever been through a phase of your life where you just walk into rooms and you're like, why'd I walk in here again? Or you just noticed that you wasn't as mentally sharp and you're like, dang, man, am I doing something wrong? Am I burnt out for my people from the DMV? So today what we're going to cover is the things that you need to do so you can stop starving your brain. Because that's what you're literally doing. You just are totally unaware of it, okay? Now, just to give you some context, okay? The brain is the most metabolically expensive tissue that you have in your body, literally, which means what? Let's say out of all the energy that you provide your body exogenously, which means what? From an outside source, from food, etc. 20% of it has to go to your brain. Okay, that is the main reason why we're so intellectual. That's why we're so intelligent. That's the main reason why you're still living today. Okay, because your brain is doing a lot of work even when you're sleeping. Okay, so now what's happening though, for fast forward to our generation, we are not giving our brain the right type of nutrients to sustain the activities that it needs to do. Okay, and the main reason why is because we've been taught, right, with a whole lot of propaganda and all this stuff where we're eating a lot more processed foods, refined carbohydrates, vegetable oils, okay, plant-based foods, right? And because we're not giving our body the right type of nutrients, right, you start to notice an increase in anxiety, depression, Parkinson's, etc. You see what I'm saying? A lot of mental cognitive disorders, okay? So today what we're gonna cover is what you can do to prevent this from happening to you, all right? But in order for you to basically solve the problem, right, you got to understand the problem, okay? Now, once again, the brain requires 20% of all the nutrients that you're giving your body, okay? Now, if you look at the evolutionary tail, right, of mammals and great apes, right, because we're quote unquote considered a great ape, right? Now, the reason why we're more intellectual, we're more smarter than apes, right, and monkeys is because what happened is back in the day when there was a branch off the tree between when we started splitting away from apes, they had a bigger belly, right? And because they have a bigger belly, they was able to ferment, a lot of vegetation, okay, plants, etc. All right. But what we did, okay, evolutionary wise, if you believe in that stuff, we switched over to having a shorter stomach or a smaller stomach, right? And we transferred this energy over to a brain. Okay, but because this brain requires a little bit more nutrients, now we have to get more energy from outside sources, exogenous foods, okay, which means outside, from things like omega-3s, omega-6s, and omega-7s, okay, which are basically DHA, EPA, and ALA, which is alpha-linoleic acid, okay? So we need to get a lot of fats from animal-based foods, because animal-based foods actually contain most of these fats that I just talked about, okay? Now, once again, the funny thing is the propaganda that's been pushed to us was what? Oh, no, you need to eat a little bit more processed foods. You need to eat more plant-based foods. Oh, it does the exact same thing as animal foods. And in context, it might have the exact same grams of fat. It might have the exact same grams of protein, right? But it do totally different things in the human body. Why? I'm not a leaf. I'm not a tree. You see what I'm saying? So what happens is the plant-based fats and the plant-based proteins has less bioavailability than an animal-based protein. Okay, and bioavailability means that your body can do more with a plant-based or an animal-based protein than a plant-based protein. Your body can do a little bit more with animal fats than plant-based fats. And ironically, the things that we really need to sustain a healthy brain so you can think, right? So you have sharper synapses. So you actually are able to promote neurogenesis, which is allowing your body or your brain to grow new neurons, all stems from what you're providing your brain coming from animal-based foods. So when you're starting to digest food, okay, the brain is smart. It's looking for two things, literally. Omega-3s, right, which are fatty acids that only comes from fat, animal fats. And it's also looking for essential amino acids that comes from proteins, okay? Tryptophan, creatine, taurine, choline, etc., okay? All these things help your brain run optimally. All right. Now, but once again, a lot of people is not eating a lot of real foods. We're not eating a lot of whole foods. We're eating a lot of processed foods. And the processed foods have a lot of micronutrients in it, but your body or your brain at this point needs macronutrients, okay? So your whole diet needs to really consist of more more animal-based foods than plant-based foods if you want to help your brain. Hence why, if you actually look at statistics, if you actually look at studies, if you look at a vegan brain compared to a person that eats or omnivore brain or somebody that eats animal meat, their brain is bigger. Why? Because your brain is getting smaller because you're not providing it the things that it needs. Okay? It's atrophying. Okay? So your hippocampus is actually atrophying because you're not giving the brain what it actually needs. And your hippocampus is literally your memory and learning center. Okay? So hence why you probably notice, oh man, for some odd reason I went to this room, I forgot exactly just that fast why I went to this room. That's because there's a little bit of atrophy that's happening inside your brain right now as we speak, okay? So here's what you can do to prevent this issue, okay? That's why you see, once again, dementia, Alzheimer's at an all-time high, okay? Because we're not giving our body what it needs, okay? Especially African Americans. And that's what I'm focusing on. Now, with that being said, what you need to do is give your body more whole foods, and you need to have a diet that consists around animal-based foods. Okay, your body needs omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-7s. Okay, and you're gonna hear from a lot of vegan circles or vegetarian people that say, oh well, your body could create omega-3s from alpha-linoleic acid, which is plant-based, right? Which is omega-6s, right? At the end of the day, that's not what your brain needs though, and a lot of the omega-6s is not gonna be able to convert to omega-3s to sustain exactly what your brain needs to run optimally, okay? It might convert, it might be okay, but it's not gonna be able to make your brain run optimally, okay? You need to have plant-based foods, and animal-based foods, and you need to have fats, okay? And you need to have protein. So do not be afraid of fats, ladies, okay? Have a better version of fats. And ironically, one thing you're gonna realize is, or what I want y'all to do, stay away from vegetable oils, okay? Soybean oil, canola oil, saffron oil, soybean, sunflower oil, okay? You want to have more saturated fats, okay? Butter, beef lard, tallow, etc. Because these are actual derived from animal fats, which means what? It's gonna help your brain. Okay, olive oil is cool too, but you're not supposed to be cooking with olive oil. All right, if you want to cook and you want to heat up a pan, you need to put butter and tallow, stuff like that in it. Okay, lard. Okay, you don't want to cook with canola oil, vegetable oils, because believe it or not, these vegetable oils are not really coming from vegetables; they come from seeds. That is an issue, but that's a topic for another day. All right. Now, two, the main reason why your brain is starving today is because what you're feeding it and you're giving it too much sugar. All right. So here's what's happening in the human body, just so you give some insight. Okay. Your brain needs insulin for it to uptake glucose. Now, your brain needs glucose to run off it. It can run off either glucose or beta-hydroxybutyrate, which are ketones. All right. Now, at the end of the day, even if you have a lot of ketones in your body, even if you're in full-blown ketosis, your body still wants to have some glucose, or your brain still wants to have some glucose. All right. Now, what's happening is a lot of people is becoming insulin resistant. What is insulin resistant? And here's an analogy make it colloquial so y'all really understand what it is. Let's go back to high school, right? And you was beefing with that chick, or you was beefing with that dude, right? And you're like, man, you know what? I'm gonna see you outside after school, right? So you go to your house, you get ready, you put your Vaseline on and X, Y, and Z, right? And when you open the door, somebody's knocking at your door. When you open your door, you see one person outside. If you see one person outside, you're ready to fight, right? You're gonna beat his A. See what I'm saying? Now, ironically, what's insulin resistance is the key to help unlock the door to the cell so your body can intake energy, right? But when you become insulin resistant, it's like if you open up that door ready for a fight and you see 100 people outside. And you're like, what the hell's going on? And you're not going to come outside. Why? Because you know you're about to get jumped now. Okay, it's a totally different thing. You're getting scared low key. You're like, oh man, you know what? I'm copping. You know? Now, that's what's happening in the human body, because what's happening is if you continue to give your body a whole lot of glucose, right? Your body keeps excreting something called insulin from the pancreas. If it continues to excrete insulin from the pancreas, your body already innately knows that, hey, if I continue to intake energy, I'm going to die. So we're going to go ahead and become resistant to this glucose, which is sugar. That's coming from your refined carbohydrates, your Doritos, your chips, etc. All right, your bread, your pastas, etc. All right. So what's happening is now your body's not able to intake energy because you're giving it the wrong source of energy because you keep spiking your insulin. That's happening to your brain. And keep in mind, I just told you your brain needs glucose, but it needs it in spurts. It don't need it all the time. But if you're eating 4 to 5 to 6 times a day, your brain is starting to become insulin resistant, which means what? It cannot take in the energy that it needs. Now your brain is starving. Okay, so now your neurotransmitters, okay, and now your hormones, the things that's making you feel good, right? Like serotonin, your melatonin, your dopamine, okay, glutamate, GABA, it depletes 100 times less because your body or your brain is not able to make it because it's starving itself because it's too much insulin in the body, and your brain starts to become insulin resistant. Okay, but at the end of the day, even though you become insulin resistant, which means what? Your body's not able to intake the main source of energy, glucose is still able to make its way in the brain. So your brain is still starving, but because the glucose is still in the brain, now something is called AGE, which is advanced glycation end products, basically cripples your cells. Because it's excess sugar. This only happens when there's excess sugar in the body, and it starts to cripple your DNA, your proteins, your enzymes, and now it's not working as efficiently. Now it can't do its job. That is the start to all chronic inflammation. That is the start to obesity. That's the start to you having more depressive disorders or anxiety, etc. Okay, so everything stems from what you eat, and if you're not giving the right type of nutrients to your body, you're gonna feel it, okay? But you're just probably not noticing that, damn, there's a little correlation between what I eat and how I feel throughout the day, okay? So what I want you to do, if you're somebody that's dealing with anxiety, depression, depressive, anything of that nature, what I want you to do is get on a lower carbohydrate diet, okay? And start thinking about doing some sort of keto until you start doing really better. I don't advise keto. I'll make my clients do keto, but you need to start thinking of keto if you're really starting to notice that your medication is really not as working as efficiently, etc. too, okay? So, and the reason being is because medications help suppress it so you can live with your illness, okay? And not fixing the illness. I'm trying to help you fix the illness, and it's all due to your diet. Lower your carbohydrate intake, okay? If you need a number, 50 grams of carbohydrates max in a day. That's all you can have. Okay, 20 grams of carbohydrates if you're really trying to fix this issue, you're really trying to get rid of your anxiety and depression, etc. But this all stems from your diet. It all stems from you eating processed foods, and it all stems from the frequency of you eating 4 to 5 to 6 times a day. Your body doesn't require that. Okay, so once again, you need to become less insulin resistant so your brain can feel better. And you're going to notice that your cognitive ability is going to be a little bit better. You start to feel more sharper, right? You stop forgetting about what you're doing. It's easier for you to learn. It's easier for you to memorize something. It's going to be that simple. All you have to do is give your body the right type of nutrients and your brain the right type of nutrients. And that is less glucose, okay? More omega-3s, okay? More essential proteins and more fatty acids, which all stems from animal-based foods. That's why I say have more protein on your plate than anything else, because majority of the proteins that you want to consume actually comes from animal foods, okay? So, once again, eat more real foods, less processed foods. And yes, I'm talking about protein powders too, all right? Hopefully y'all learned something today, and that's your reset tip of the day. It's gonna help you stay snatched all the time. Know it's summertime. Talk to y'all soon.